Gosh, that's a great question. I don't know if I've ever been asked that. Like, what is the it factor?
The It Factory is back for season 2. Last season, we explored what the It Factory is, who has it, and how they got it. This season, we still seek to answer the same questions, but with a new cast of characters. We take the helmet off some of the new faces in the Conference of Champions, and some familiar faces as well. Players, coaches, and experts will explore what it is that sets them up for success on Saturdays. I'm Yogi Roth, and welcome back to the It Factory. Okay, welcome back or welcome to the It Factory. I'm your host, Yogi Roth. We are presented by Zayo, and you know the deal. We're almost around mid-season now. We're taking the helmet off the top players in all of Pac-12 football and diving into what makes them tick, who they are, what their spirit's like, why they are the players that you love to cheer for on Saturday. And today, it's a very fun one for me. We will go all the way to Salt Lake City to welcome in Dalton Kincaid. They're all everything tight end. Dalton, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, good to have you here. So you don't know this, but I'm from Dalton, Pennsylvania. That's where I grew up. So I've always been a big fan of your name. Any reason why you got the name Dalton?
I knew it was between Dalton and Wyatt because I asked my parents growing up just because, it's every time you go to somewhere to order food, I have to say my name 2 or 3 times just for the person to kind of understand it. So it was a little frustrating growing up, just like why this like unique name.
Totally. I would get that weird name too. Like my Starbucks coffee cup would be something random all the time. Yeah, Wyatt's kind of one that I'd get every once in a while. So with that said, like everybody now in college football, you got a website. So of course I went to daltonkincaid.com and I found this amazing t-shirt that is Kincaid's Bait and Tackle. Sweet logo, sweet pick. You grew up in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Like, were you a fisherman growing up, or did you just pick that up when you dropped into San Diego or Salt Lake City? Like, where did this come from?
I fished a little bit growing up. We would always drive up to Bryan Head during the winter to go snowboarding because that was kind of the best spot closest to Vegas. And in the summer, we would come up here and go fishing and hiking too. But I would go fishing a little bit with Cole Fotheringham, who was on the team last year. So he kind of showed me some new spots out here in Salt Lake.
I love it. Did he ever take you down to like San Onofre? Because I know that's a huge surf spot for him and his dad.
No, I've yet to experience Southern California with Cole, but I hope to.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll make sure that happens. I want an invite when you come down here to SoCal. But with that said, you referenced growing up, you said snowboarding. You grew up doing everything but football, it sounds like. What was the young you like, having only picked up football as a senior in high school?
It was kind of just like everything. Soccer, baseball, basketball was a big part of kind of my childhood and coming up. AAU basketball, super competitive. I think it's only gotten more competitive now that I've gotten older, but played flag football growing up a little bit too. So that's the only thing my mom would kind of let me play football wise, just because of the no contact.
Wow. Okay. So how did you convince her? Was it like a coach, or were you just like, hey, I'm a senior, let me do it, Mom?
Well, I played football my freshman year of high school, which kind of like, I feel like for the most part, a lot of people do. Freshman football is kind of just like chaotic, a whole lot going on. And after that year, didn't play. I played volleyball in my sophomore year. Junior year, didn't do anything. And then some of my old teammates from AAU basketball were at this high school. It was a smaller private school in Summerlin, which is probably like a 30, 45-minute drive, depending on traffic in Vegas, which can be even worse. But one day, jokingly, with my dad, just said like, "Oh, I'll play football, basketball, like if I go there and I'm with those guys." And within like 2 weeks of me saying that to my dad, I was sitting down in the back of a classroom, like the end of my junior year in this class, and people were wondering if I was there the whole year or not. So it was a little weird time to transfer, but ended up happening for the best.
Wow. Okay, so what kind of athlete were you? I mean, you're a big dude, right? You're all a 6'6", right? Like, how did you snowboard? How did you play all these other sports? And was football and that transition easy when you dropped into that new school?
So I actually skied all growing up. My mom's a flight attendant and she used to compete with her airline. I guess they used to do like little competitions between airlines. And then when I got in high school, snowboarding was like the cool thing. So I tried to pick that up and it worked, but I just, it gets a little cold out there. But I think it was just a combination of, I was a catcher in baseball. So always kind of involved in every play, not like the focal point of every play, but I mean, you're touching the baseball every single play, catching it. And then I think a little bit of basketball also kind of helped with my ball skills, just kind of the combination of those both.
Yeah, how do you think, I'm around quarterbacks all the time, and it feels like the younger and younger quarterbacks are, the more specialized their families and their parents are guiding them towards. Like, we're not going to do anything else. We're just going to play this. What would you say to families that are having to make that decision?
I would tell them to play as many sports as they can. One, to kind of just let them experience and choose like what their favorite route is too. You don't want to kind of force someone into doing something they don't want to. And also you kind of pick up these little bits and pieces and skills and attributes that'll translate into another sport. So for instance, basketball, you get good feet, you go rebound the ball a lot, and that can translate over to football. I mean, route running and going up and catching a football, especially a contested catch, when you got 5, 6 guys in the paint going up for a rebound, and then it's just, I mean, 2 guys going up for a football. So it's a little different, but it all translates kind of and carries over between sports.
Yeah, dude, I've always felt like mossing somebody for a touchdown is way easier than just getting a rebound on the offensive glass. So
Yeah.
glad you co-signed that. No, but so on a serious note, like, you play your senior year of football, like prior to, call it, training camp of that year, were you thinking about college and sport? Like, you're like, I want to play hoop in college. How did that go down for you to find your way to the University of San Diego playing football?
I didn't even think about playing sports really. I had some guys on my team who kind of were like the big name guys, had like these offers to these schools. So it never really crossed my mind initially. My plan was to enroll at Colorado State and then try to do semester at sea, which is you live on like
Yes.
this boat for a whole semester traveling the world. And my mom wanted me to do that so bad, and I was all for it. And then my receiver coach approached me towards like the end of the season, and he's also kind of like the liaison with the colleges that come in and communicate with him. And he asked me if I wanted to play college football, and I thought it'd be cool to get some offers to go to some schools. So I told him, yeah. And then next thing I know, I'm going to University of San Diego and playing football there.
Wow, that's awesome, man. All right, so you find your way down there. What is it like? Because here you are thinking, I'm going to go study abroad. Then you find your way into a training camp. And I'd imagine college training camp, regardless of at Utah or in San Diego, like, it's way different than high school training camp.
Yeah, it was, that's probably one of the hardest, like up to that point, that was like one of the most challenging things I ever kind of went through. And I think all the former players, current players at the University of San Diego can kind of vouch for that too. That training camp there is not easy by any means. We got this big hill that you got to walk up and down before every practice, walk through. The defensive meeting rooms were down there, so the defensive guys had to walk up and down it more. And then you stay on campus in these dorm rooms with no AC, communal bathrooms. It was definitely something that I like went through, but I think the guys there made it more than doable. I remember, like, right across the hall from me were these older 2 linebackers, and I mean, one of them's like one I would consider one of my best friends, like to this day, probably be my wedding. But yeah, it was tough to go through training camp just because you kind of have no clue what's going on, and as you kind of get older, it gets a little easier just because you understand the playbook more and kind of how the schedule throughout the day goes.
I always feel like in football, like, there comes a point where you fall in love with it. When was that for you, if that has even happened yet?
I'm not sure. for me, I feel like it's just kind of like the experiences throughout it. I see it as just like a game, but I mean, at the end of the day, it really is just a game. It's just putting 11 guys on the field who are supposed to beat the 11 guys across from them. And then when you get those plays where those 11 offensive guys beat those 11 defensive guys and they have this huge breakout touchdown, and it's just like poetry in motion, kind of. So I think it's me like seeing the game from a different perspective has allowed me to kind of fall in love with it even more.
Yeah. When you were playing well at your previous school, what led you to try to see and play the game from a different perspective at the Power 5 level and now here as a Utah Ute?
I think more than anything, it was kind of COVID occurring in the whole pandemic. I got to go home for the first time, and I didn't really go home. I mean, living in San Diego, you don't want to really go back to Vegas ever, just because you go from 70 and sunny every day to either 110, don't want to go outside, or it can get pretty chilly in Vegas too. But I got to spend a lot of time at home, and the University of San Diego wasn't a scholarship school. So the conference we played in, none of the players would be on scholarship. So it was kind of just everyone who played on that team and the teams you were playing against, like, did it just for the love of the game. So I think it was kind of being home and then realizing there's no point in my family really needing to pay for me to go to college. So kind of just seeing the more opportunities out there. And then I know it's a lot more respectable from a scout's perspective, looking at players playing against better competition.
All right, so you referenced football and that love for it, how it's just a game at times. You've dealt with some real stuff in your time at Utah. I want to hit on two circumstances. One is one that I got to experience for the first time this past weekend, in the moment of loudness. What is that like as you, your teammates, a stadium, a community pay tribute to the lives of Ty Jordan and Aaron Lowe?
It's an incredible experience. I think it's something that everyone should kind of experience if they haven't before. So I'm glad you kind of got to experience that moment. But it's just remembering those guys more than anything. Ty never got to experience a home crowd, which, I wish he did. Those home games are different. But just remembering those guys, giving us that little kick, like remembering people who can't play football, not only them, but, losing some players to injury. But just hearing everyone behind us, supporting us in Rice Eccles Stadium, that's just that little kick of energy in that fourth quarter, and just brings us all together.
Yeah, I mean, it's powerful. I love the concept, 22% better. You reference injuries. One of your best friends, teammate, position room in Brant Keithy, he's lost for the season. Like, how has the idea of 22% better impacted you even now amid the injured loss of one of the top players on your team, one of your closest friends?
I think it just emphasizes even more, especially being someone so close to me, someone who I never would imagine to be injured or hurt in any way, and just seeing him he struggles to just get around now, which is something you kind of take for granted every single day. So kind of just seeing it from that perspective is just kind of changes you just a little bit, makes you want to go a little harder for him, and do things for him just because, he can't do it himself.
Yeah, I think a lot of times now, like, I'd be curious your thoughts, like in college football, because of whether it's NIL or the pseudo professionalization, like I feel like we can forget as fans that, like, these are guys that you will invite to your wedding. Like, you're not a pro. You don't just have a singular focus. You're going to class, you're getting degrees, you're meeting friends. Like, how has your team and you been able to create community in a sport that I think sometimes that word is getting lost among those that view it from the outside in?
I think we kind of just stay close together. I think college football is kind of going through this whole spiral, and it will even more in the next coming years, just with NIL and the the transfer portal and everything. So it's kind of hard to have that sense of community and like camaraderie within a team. But we've kind of just endured so much together and kind of just go through so much and just try to keep that tight bond that we have, just because we know when it gets tough and gritty in the fourth quarter later in the season, when everyone's banged up, that you look to left and right, and that's just going to give you that kick energy, makes you want to play harder for those guys just because you care about them even more on and off the field.
Years ago, you were still in high school. I was able to be part of the team that did a documentary on Utah football. It's called The Drive. Check it out on YouTube when you can. It was all access. Coach Whittingham opened up all the doors, meetings, the whole. It was incredible, man. But the number one quote that I recall from then and still use it now, and Coach Whitt in his 18th years, I'm sure has used it on you. It's, quote, "You're either in or in the way." What is it like for you when you entered this new program, and how did you become in and buy in and drop into the culture that he's created?
My first day, I remember vividly. My mom and my brother were here trying to help me move in and get my new place situated. And IKEA is probably like a 30-minute, 20-minute drive down south. So I hadn't eaten breakfast, lunch, driving from IKEA back up here. And then I go straight into like lifting, thinking, oh, I'll be fine. And I remember running to the bathroom. I was throwing up. I definitely experienced it and didn't have a strong first couple of days. So I learned from that. But I think, being all in or in the way kind of has to do with, we won't become someone else. They're going to have to fit our program. Like, we won't change the way we are for anyone. It's them going to have to change themselves a little bit to fit this program more than anything.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for that. And like, culture is probably an overused phrase and word, but dang, you guys curated it and created it. And it feels as though it's player led. And now you're a vet. Now you're one of the leaders. You reference one of your top guys going down. Like, how do you make sure you curate that with young guys, whether it's Cole Bishop or some of the freshmen that are finding their way onto the field this year?
I think it's kind of different for everyone who's kind of has that leadership role. Some people definitely are more vocal, and some people, kind of don't want to talk as much and will rather kind of lead by example. So I think it's a good mix, and we got a good bunch of guys who kind of, mix that up a little bit. So definitely encouraging the younger guys, bringing them along, creating that family culture that we kind of pride ourselves on, and at the same time, letting them know like this is the way things got to go around here.
When you were coming out of high school, were you thinking like, yeah, I'm going to be a tight end?
No. I remember my first day showing up to routes like the summer before I get there, and the tight ends go into the slot and the receivers go outside, and I kind of just like walked outside a little bit and caught a couple balls out there before I said to someone, I was like, should I go with the tight ends, because that's what I was recruited as, and then that was it for me.
Yeah. So how do you describe your game as a tight end? Because that position has a variance of definitions now.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like every player is kind of different and brings something to the table that can kind of contribute in a way. I think my ball skills are kind of my strongest suit in my game, but I also think my game kind of changes each and every year, just add in little nuances here and there, whether it be in the blocking game or kind of the receiving game.
Yeah, you're clearly one of the more talented guys in America. But off the field, you have this desire, it seems like, to help. You have this lean into autism. Tell me a little bit about that and why you give your time to, whether it's a march on behalf of people with autism or trying to help individuals who have autism. Where did that begin, and what are you trying to do with it?
I think more than anything, it's kind of just the role I've kind of put myself into and gotten into. Gives me a great opportunity to give back more than anything and get involved with the community. Kind of like how we kind of do it in the team, try to bring everyone together. That's like one of my looks with the community, trying to get the community and the team involved. But I don't know. I think I get it from my mom more than anything. She's a very giving person, very selfless, and kind of loves to help in any way. She's a flight attendant too, so I think that kind of fits her perfectly. Like always asking if anyone needs anything, any assistance, any help. So I think it's just a little bit of my mom that I kind of carry with myself.
Your mom sounds amazing, man. Global. She's got so much knowledge that she shared upon you. But why did you go down this lane? Like, there's a lot of areas where you could try to lean and give back, as you said. What about this specific one stuck out to you?
I think it started in San Diego. The senior quarterback there had sent out a message into our WhatsApp, which had everyone on the team there, and said, "We got this. There's this event. It's in the Bay. This one we were in San Diego, and you kind of just go there for a couple hours, hang out with these kids, build sand castles, paddleboard, kayak." And me and one of my best friends, Josh, who is actually from the same high school, we were both at San Diego, and we decided to go. And it ended up just being me, Josh, and the quarterback and his girlfriend there. And I think we just had so much fun that day. And there's a program that kind of involves themselves with USD football in San Diego, the Autism Tree Project Foundation. And they kind of do this way of setting up players with kids with autism who kind of have similar interests. So we have this lunch where you match the guys together. And then they'll come to one of our scrimmages or in fall camp, and we'll have a game where they all come to the game, make posters, signs. And I don't know, I think it was just kind of someone older kind of had an influence on me, and I thought it was awesome. And the impact it had on his life was only positive. So I figured, why not get involved as well?
Yeah. How have you continued that in Salt Lake City?
I still get calls from some guys in San Diego, if not daily, weekly. It's kind of hard to keep up with it, but the kids they're all interesting, and they all have their uniqueness in some way. I remember after some of the games, one of the kids would be the first guy you'd see coming out of the locker room, and he would tell the starting quarterback, "You missed blah 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 on this play, in this quarter, on this drive." And he'd tell him all his stats right away. So I was trying to implement kind of a similar foundation like that with our team here, but during COVID it was kind of difficult. So I think more than anything, just trying to get involved in any way I can out here, but also still being pretty involved in that foundation back in San Diego.
Yeah, it's amazing. I just keep imagining like you obviously helping others, but then also like your parents observing it. When a game ends, and if your mom specifically is in town and she's able to catch it, like what's the conversation between the two of you post game?
I think the first thing, I always see my mom. That's like the first person I see, and I give her a big hug. And then she's always looking around, like seeing if there's any fans waiting outside. And she's like, "Oh, you got to go take a picture right here. Go sign this." So she's very observant in that. And I don't know, she's just always like looking for some of my friends who are teammates too, waiting for them to come out, who some of their families might not be at the game. So she's always just trying to be involved, and she's always worried. She's just, "Oh, is it too much?" But no, she's awesome.
All right, so now that you're at Utah and you're a bona fide star on this team, you went from not playing high school football to playing in front of a couple thousand to it's over 70 straight games that Rice Cycles has been sold out, bro. Like, what is it like for you when you look up, and if you do to that muss in that student section, you ever like say, "Wow, dude, Dalton, what a path for you to get here playing this position on this field"?
Yeah, I think it's always a moment during each game that I kind of just look around 10, 15 seconds, kind of just absorb it and take it all in. And then it's just back to playing the game of football. But it's definitely cool to look around and just see where the game brings you, the atmospheres it puts you in, and then just having fun playing it.
Hey, man, even when I call games, I was in Rice Cycles a few weeks ago, and I take half my headset off just to listen to the crowd when it gets really loud because I just want to feel what it's like there. I went down in pregame and I saw the size of your team, and I was like, okay, I definitely can't play for this team. Maybe down in San Diego I could run like one route, but not for you guys. I'm done. All right. So before we let you go, I have this thing I call the final five questions. I want to hit you before we get you out of here. Number one, and this is the first thought that comes to mind. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Be kind, probably. I've heard that since I was a young kid, and I think everyone's kind of in different situations. You never really know what's going on with people, so be kind, just kind of in all aspects of life. So just reminding yourself that every day.
Worst piece of advice you've ever received?
Ooh. I'm not sure. Nothing really comes to mind right away, which is maybe a good thing, just because I don't have bad advice in my head right away.
If you were able to go on that semester at sea, first country you'd want that boat to stop at?
Croatia.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Why is that?
That's where if you ever wonder kind of where people in Europe go to travel, that's what I've heard is kind of the go-to destination. So when we kind of all want to travel and go to Europe and see Europe, that's where the Europeans are wanting to go.
It's pretty sweet, dude. Plitvice Lakes. It is. I spent a summer out there. Oh, yeah. Yeah, off the charts. I went from Venice, took the boat over from Venice over to Croatia, bounced all the way up and down that country, man. Off the hook.
It's definitely on the bucket list.
Yeah, lock it in. Indeed, lock it in, indeed. All right, number 4. This show is titled The It Factory. How would you describe your it factor?
Competitor, I think, more than anything. Hate to lose against the guy across from me, let alone the game. So competitor and kind of everything and wanting to win.
I like that, man. All right, now finish this sentence for me. In all your experiences, from having a mom who's seen the globe, for yourself who's played all these sports as a skier, as a hooper, as a footballer, it all comes down to what?
Hard work. I feel like that's kind of the thing that popped up right away. That and kind of being happy. If you're not happy, you're not going to want to wake up and do this every day. So finding a way to be happy in something you do. So looking for the positives and everything.
Man, I'll say this. I need to meet your family and your mom because she's global. You're about giving back. You want to be happy. You got no negative advice. I mean, bro, she needs the parenting book to gift out at home games to everybody.
Yeah. My dad's pretty good too. So
okay, there it is.
Be a pleasant surprise.
Okay. What are their names? Let's give them a shout out.
Clark and Vicky.
All right, Clark and Vicky. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, and hopefully our listeners did. Dalton, thank you for your time. Thank your parents for your name. And I can't wait to follow your not only football life, but your life experiences, man. I have a feeling you're going to leave an even larger imprint than you already have on society in a bunch of levels, man. Thanks for coming to the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, there it is. One of Utah's greats, Dalton Kincaid. How can't you love that first name, Dalton Kincaid? You know the deal. Just go to pac-12.com/insider for all past episodes. You want to listen to this one, check it out on Insider on the Pac-12 platforms, or listen to it on the podcast. Wherever you listen to your podcast, give us a little rating, review, and Utah fans, let's get a dialogue going of why we love Dalton Kincaid so much. I'm going to go with what he does off the field. So with that, I'm out. Stay safe. Enjoy the rest of the season. It's hard to believe we're already at the midway point. Peace. It's the Afterglow. TJ, I feel like we need like certain type of music now for the Afterglow. It's like late night in the Afterglow. TJ Brassel, our producer. Yeah, our super producer. He does everything. Yogi Roth here. Dalton Kincaid. Knew about him as a player. Knew about it when he showed up in Salt Lake City. Seen him thrive on big stages. He's elevated his game with the loss of Brent Keithy. But I never talked to him. Like real conversation, just saying what's up in pregame. Really impressive dude. I'm curious your takeaway from the dialogue and what do you wish we asked him?
You wouldn't have been able to tell you never talked to him. It sounded like old friends on that conversation. You sound like best buds. No, it was good. It was fun to hear his story. For what I wish we'd asked him, it wasn't really like a that important of a question, but he just made one little comment of when he was saying like when he first got there or got to Utah and like was like kind of showed up and was like, all right, I guess I'll just go like stand with the receivers and we're with them. And he was like, should I go with the tight ends? Like, I want to know, like, what if they had said no? What if they just tried to like put him at receiver? Like what would have gone with that? But no, that was cool. It was really interesting that when he was kind of talking about growing up, how like football was kind of an afterthought for him for a while. Like he was just doing all these different sports. And he was like, that wasn't like, I wanted to go do a semester at sea. And then football just kind of came about. Like hearing that whole transition was really cool.
Yeah, that had a big impact on me. We've talked about how I wrote this book on quarterbacks, but I'm also a dad. And like, I see youth parents so hardcore.
Yeah.
And now I am a youth parent. So I really was inspired by however his parents cultivated play, right? Because clearly he played everything, whether he was skiing, whether now he's fishing, like he's just been active. And I think there's something to like the neuroreceptors of your brain tapping into a bunch of different things. So that was inspirational for me on a bunch of fronts. I think the thing that stood out most, and probably what I love most, and you know this about me, was the traveling. Like dude was going to Colorado State to go do a semester at sea. Like that vision as a senior in high school. So this was probably like senior in high school. He's like, I'm going to go to Colorado State and go to semester at sea. Well, fast forward, 5 years, dude's going to get drafted in the NFL in the early rounds. And he's going to be able to charter whatever boat he wants to go to whatever sea he wants. I just think that's fascinating and a reminder, like we don't really know what path we're going to go on. And life just goes in so many different ways.
Yeah, no, I agree. Traveling is right up your alley. That makes sense that's what you picked up on. But no, I absolutely agree. And it's kind of funny how it's like you just point out, almost everything kind of can come full circle at times. It's like he didn't get to do that. And now he's going to probably be able to afford himself to make a semi-similar opportunity with that. And the point you just made about cultivating play and like not just specializing in one at such a young age, but doing all these different things. And clearly it led to so far a very successful collegiate career, and exciting to see what we'll go from there. But no, I absolutely agree with that.
All right, last quick story for us. Maybe we'll implement a little story time at the end of these. So years ago, I wanted to go sail around South America.
Okay.
It's a long story of why I was inspired to do it, but I was inspired to do it based on my great-great-grandfather. I read a journal, and he sailed around Cape Horn, most dangerous sea in the world. So I get a boat, and I'm on my way to go do it, and I call up my college roommate when I was playing, Larry Fitzgerald. He was my roommate for a couple of years. And I said, hey, you love to travel. I love to travel. Come do this trip with me. And he goes, oh, I'm doing it already. And I was like, sweet. He goes, I'll reserve you a spot on my boat. So I said, okay, cool. Like, what's it cost? And he goes, 25. And I said, so does mine. Mine was 25 hundo. His was 25 G's. Same body of water. Same thing we were going to see, just a different size boat. So I'll leave that with you can travel anywhere around the world. You could do a semester at sea. You could charter your own boat. You can get a yacht. You could paddle. Go see the world. Get inspired by Dalton Kincaid, his mom, and his story. And TJ, there it is. That's the afterglow for today, man. Go sail around the world if you want. All right, everybody. Appreciate the support. Hey, give us a rating, a review. Share this. Utah fans, I know you're listening. Share this one with all your message boards, all your social media platforms. I think you'll get to know Dalton Kincaid. Take that helmet off, one of the more talented players on your roster. Peace.